I've been doing this for 10 years. I have 900,000 subscribers. I have millions of views. I have multiple digital products. And if you were to ask Naila from 7 years ago, she would feel very proud. She would feel like, wow, you're confident, you're successful and everything. And here I am still waiting for that feeling. I would like to thank everybody who has been supporting me and my subscribers.
Oh my God, we found it, we found the hill.
Yeah, in this video, I think as almost a 10-year anniversary, I want to talk a little bit about my journey as a creator, and I want to open up a little bit the ups and downs and my entire journey, because the last personal video that I uploaded, you guys seem to enjoy it. I got a lot of nice comments. So yeah, do you guys actually like this kind of video? Because if you do, please write it down in the comments and I will engage with it, because honestly the comments really make a difference in my level of motivation and also how I show up in my videos, you know, because I feel very appreciated from the comments in my last personal video. Even though it only had like about 4K views, I still felt seen. So if you do, don't forget to leave down the comments. So to give you a little bit of background, we would have to rewind to 2016. 2017, actually, that's when I first uploaded my first video, and at the time I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I had just graduated my master's. I was figuring out, you know, like for every early 20-year-olds who just finished school, it's normal to go through this quarter life crisis thinking, okay, what am I gonna do in my life now? And that's what I was going through. And I was staying in my parents after doing my master's for a year in the Netherlands, and I was experimenting, you know. And then I discovered YouTube. I started uploading videos in 2017, January. It's kind of like my New Year's resolution. It was not until the 8th month, in August 2017, that my video went viral. So just so you know, this is what is happening. And this was a video where I talked about American accent. And at the time, my video was all over the place. You know, there was like something about like sketches, some skits, So at the time, my videos were all over the place. There were like sketches, there were some travel vlogs, or just me, travel tips or whatever. I actually kind of forgot. But anyways, that one video went viral, and it was attracting a lot of people who seemed to like me for my English. And that's when that completely changed the direction, or like set the direction of my YouTube channel, which was like teaching English. It's like, okay, a lot of people want to come to my YouTube channel to learn English. I guess that's what I'm going to do. However, that it was like weird timing, because the time that my YouTube peaked, it was like I was getting like my first breakthrough. That's when I was starting off my work in the Netherlands. I went back to the Netherlands to look for a job, and then I got a job at a small startup, like a software startup. But at the time I was an intern, right? So I was getting paid. I was only getting paid a couple $100, 100 euros. So I also had to take a part-time job as a waitress in Utrecht to cover the cost of living. I remember I really thought like, oh my God, this is so unfortunate, the timing, you know, like my YouTube was like going there, and I'm in the Netherlands doing these jobs now. I would have been able to do this full time. Wait, this is the naughtiest boy in the house. His name is Bochu. But anyways, I decided that with my early 20s energy, I would just do the full-time internship, the part-time waitressing, and then doing YouTube on the weekend. So at the time I was not very consistent. I was only uploading YouTube for like once a month. And it wasn't until 2019 that I decided to take my YouTube full-time. I think at the time I had about 70 to 80K. And then I remember that summer when I really zeroed in on YouTube. Within like 2 months, I had reached 100K. So, I'm really sorry, but I have to recover from that. And that was kind of like a proof that if you really focus or zero in your effort into one thing, it can really take off, you know. And then the next year, I published, COVID started, and that's when I first launched my online course. And I was really doing very well with that, because with COVID, online education was just becoming a thing, right? So I rode that wave, and in 2020 I doubled my growth, so I reached 200K, and then the year after I also doubled my growth and reached 400K. I'm going to So the year 2020 and 2021 were my golden years. So that's when I was really seeing my numbers grow up, both in subscribers and views, and also income. And I felt like I was on top of the world. I was living my dream life. I was doing quite some digital nomad trips, like I spent 3 months in Portugal. I went to Valencia. It was amazing, And then 2022 comes, and that's actually when I wanted to pivot from digital courses into a more intensive coaching program. So a more interactive coaching program than just passive courses. And then since I launched my coaching program in 2022, that's when things were I started only focusing on the business side of things, because I followed a business mastermind, and basically I followed the philosophy that every content that I put out has to be optimized for conversion. So if you see my content, if you scroll back my content from now until 2022, it was all informational, educational content, and there was nothing personal. I didn't do any vlogs, I barely did any personal videos, and then I felt like I was losing myself along the way. I lost my creativity. I was stuck in the niche. I was really focusing on the business side of things. It was really good. I mean, of course, it definitely brought me a lot of blessings in taking this path, but fast forward 4 years later, today, 2026, my career has been a big question mark since the past 2 or 3 years, and this is why if you watch my last video, personal video, it was me being lost, and honestly, I'm still a little bit lost, and I'm still not sure where to bring my content for after this, right? Of course, I have some idea right now, and this is my first step into putting it out there. But yeah. So another low point that I wanted to share with you guys is that in 2020 and 2021, despite them being my golden years where I was really seeing a lot of career growth, it was also personally a very difficult time for me because I was stuck in a toxic relationship. It was a COVID relationship, started in February, and then it ended when COVID ended around summer 2022. And throughout the time I was miserable. Of course, it wasn't really miserable. What makes a relationship toxic is that there's up and down and up and down, and that's what makes you stuck. Because if it's all bad, it's a bit easier to make sense and to end it, right? But there were highs and there were lows, and that's what makes you feel trapped and addicted to the relationship. And it was a relationship where I felt like my needs were not met, and there was a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment in that. And it was, looking back, that's when I realized that these were the feelings that really fueled my growth in my wait, hey, sini, ayo, keluar. In hindsight, that's when I realized that it was these negative feelings, the anger, the frustration, the resentment that were part of why I was really growing, that I was very productive, because I channeled all of this anger, this frustration into my work. If I'm not getting what I need in my relationship, I'm gonna put everything in my projects. I'm just gonna focus on growing to distract me from the bad feelings. So yeah, in other words, the highest years of my career were the lowest years when it comes to my personal life. I was feeling really shit most of the time in those 2 years. If I look back, I was like, ugh, those were really my dark years. But then again, my career was just And then the last 6 to 8 months before the relationship ended in the summer of 22, that's when I felt the shittiest about myself, but that was also the hardest that I've ever worked in building my coaching program ESA. And then only until I finished all of the deadline and then I launched ESA to the first paying batch, that's when I really just crashed. My body couldn't take it anymore. I was feeling, I got really tired. I think it's also not because of work as well, but because of the relationship, right? And then ever since then, I have not been able to recover that kind of drive, that kind of energy and the kind of productivity to get myself going. So that's when I thought, like, I think it's because I was feeling really shitty that I was very productive, you know? And then that was kind of like the beginning of my awakening, enlightenment, and like really understanding what was wrong with me as a person. And then it was the summer of 22 where my relationship ended, and then of course I had to half-heartedly make the decision that I would move back home to Indonesia because my visa was tied to that relationship. So no relationship means no visa, and then I wouldn't want to stay in the Netherlands if I had to depend on him. You know, I just want to have nothing to do with this person anymore. So I just, you know what, I'll just go home, even though I didn't fully want it at the time. And then ever since then, I really felt like, in terms of my career, I hadn't really been focusing on that. It wasn't fully there. You know, I kind of lost my mojo since then. So ever since the breakup and the moving away from the Netherlands, moving back home, my career has been taking the backseat, you know, because it was a very difficult time for me, and not because I broke up from that relationship, but understanding how badly I was treated in that relationship and how neglectful I am of myself, and how the biggest mistake that I've committed in that relationship was staying too long, and that I did not have enough boundaries to the point that I just let someone treat me so badly, you know. And then that really took a lot of time and effort to get over, to heal from. So yeah, ever since I moved to Bali in 2022, my life has been all about rebuilding. You know, rebuilding myself, my self-esteem, my support system, my friendships and my friend group, rebuilding relationships again, being more comfortable in showing up in relationships and not let trauma take over me, and just rebuilding my life in general. And then I kept on telling myself, okay, you know what, next year it's gonna be the year of my career breakthrough. And then that never happened. And then fast forward almost 4 years later till today, I feel like I still haven't gotten that breakthrough yet. And I realized, and that's because my focus has been about first year being, you know, the adjustment period, being able to make a life in Bali and being comfortable with it. And then the second year is about finding the people that I see as friends, basically rebuilding my support system. And then the third year, it was about rebuilding my relationship, showing up healthily and more like better than I did in my last relationship. And now, and this is the year that I'm telling myself, you know what, this year, your career has to take front seat, the driver's seat. So, and this means showing up differently on my YouTube channel and not only hiding behind informational, educational content like I've been doing the past 4 years, but also showing up more personally and maybe experiment with something more creative, maybe even redo my, you know, doing vlogs again like I used to, even though those took a lot of time and effort to edit, but it's always fun to film it and also to rewatch it again. So it's really connecting to my creative spark. Because back then, the fuel that I used to grow my career was out of anger. Now it is actually trying to figure out a cleaner type of fuel that can push me forward. And that I'm still trying to figure out. So I remember one time, there was one day where I was at a public speaking gig and I got to meet and I got to talk to one of the founders of this big e-commerce company in Indonesia. And then of course we got to know each other, and he learned that I have this big platform on YouTube. And then he asked me like, wow, you have amassed such a big audience and they want to learn from you. You don't want to dive into the e-commerce world? You don't want to, you know, try to make a bigger platform out of it to really monetize this? And then I was really thinking to myself like, wow, that sounds like a big job and a big jump as well. And is it really a path that I wanted to take? I wasn't sure if I would be up to the job, you know. And then I thought to myself, like, I guess it makes sense, right? If you have built this amount of audience, the most obvious next step is to scale it up, to build a platform, and to really make a change. But then he did say afterwards, I guess in the end though, what really matters is whether or not you want to take on that path. And yeah, and that got me to think, you know, like, would I want to take on the full-on business route where I would have to like hire a big team, I would have to get investors, basically the route that I just feel anxious if I think about it right now. So I didn't, and I decided to just continue with the coaching route. And I remember I also meet another founder of an e-commerce company. They actually started off as an educational channel, and then they built an e-learning platform out of it. And then we were friends for a little bit, and then he told me that he was very miserable, and to the point that it really took a toll on his health clinically. And he told me that if you were to do anything from scratch, he wouldn't take on this route of like building an e-learning platform and having to get a partner to work with him and having to have to please the investors and all that. He would tell me I would do exactly what you do, Naila, where you can actually have full control over the people that you work with, like your colleagues and also your clients. And that was actually the time when I felt like I did the right thing, even though I didn't make a huge, big business out of it. I still made a business that was aligned with what I wanted at the time. So one question that I have been sitting with for a while is that, am I just a creative person or am I also a business person? Because the creative part, me being a creative person, that part I'm sure of. It's something that I've always had since I was little. But the business side of things, you know, the execution, the organization, the managing, it takes a little push, you know. It's something that I know that it doesn't really come with me. I'm not sure if this is like a limiting belief or it's just self-awareness, but I know for sure that being organized and having to delegate and manage and doing sales and all of that, it definitely requires more mental energy for me to execute it than doing the creative part. And this is, I guess, a very common problem for people in the creative industry, right? Once their art becomes bigger, then they're going to have to wear more hats. They would have to they would have to become the manager, they would have to become the marketer, the salesperson and all of that, and quietly the creative part shrinks. And this is what I have been feeling a little bit, you know, because the past couple of years I have been focusing on optimizing my conversion through my videos, and then I just don't give myself the space and the freedom to experiment creatively with my videos and how I want to show up. Of course, there are other reasons why I don't want to show up that way, but basically I have really quieted down the creative part of me to the point that I wouldn't say a burnout, but it feels just a fatigue. It feels like as a creative person, if you really push down the creativity for the sake of growing the business, you know, putting all of your energy into that, you just get so tired of it and you just don't find so much joy in the work that you used to enjoy. And then that's why recently, at least this month, I have made the deliberate choice to pause on the business side of things, on the promoting, and give myself the space to experiment creatively with different art forms, whether it be my videos on YouTube or my Instagram or just other forms of artwork that I'm doing behind the scenes. Even though I put the career on my backseat, I felt like it has been dormant, right? And then when I really try to get into it again, the landscape has completely changed. Of course, 2022, the time where I actually want to stop fully focusing on my career, that's when AI became a thing, right? So the first time I heard of ChatGPT was 2022, and I started using it regularly in my business in 2023. And of course, ever since then, everyone and their grandmothers started becoming a content creator, and the platforms became a lot more saturated. The younger generations are a lot more savvy in adapting new technology, and at the time, because I did not have the energy, I didn't really hop on the trend too much. And of course, I learned the basics of AI, but I didn't really know how to optimize it very much. And of course, one mistake that I did in my business is that I told you I fully focused on educational and informational videos on my YouTube. But that was actually a very bad strategy because these days, information, education is everywhere. Everybody could get it for free. Of course, in 2020, 2021, when AI wasn't really a thing, I could just get by giving information online that was not easily accessible to a lot of people in Indonesia. They come to me for information, and that was really skyrocketed my success. Hey guys, so this is me editing the next day, and I actually just forgot to give you an explanation on why that is. Basically, I learned the hard way that when people come to you for the resources and the information that you give them, once they find these information elsewhere, they're gone. And that's what happens with ChatGPT and Claude, right? But then when people actually come to you for who you are as a person, your personality, your stories, the way you view things, they stay. You know, like that is irreplaceable. And that's one thing that I think I didn't really do enough in my content because I was too focused on being useful, on teaching, on converting, that I just forgot to just be a person on camera, you know? And then, of course, what happens when the content landscape changes or every information is available everywhere, people are gone. There wasn't really enough myself in my content that make people stay. So yeah, that is actually one big reason why I think that I lost relevance along the years. I was just focused on also I niched down a lot more, and yeah, I just learned that information may bring in the people, but it is you and the human connection and who you are as a person that makes people stay. So yeah, that was my mistake. I was just hiding behind educational content because, again, optimizing for conversion. And also hiding behind, I didn't really want to show myself out there because I was hiding behind shame for what happened in my personal life. So it's like, okay, this is safe. I have been doing this all of my career, and this is what has brought me success in the past, and I didn't really adapt to that. So that was not very smart of me. But then again, I do have to remind myself to give myself compassion because of what was happening to me at the time and how I was dealing with it through the years, you know, because emigrating and breaking up and reawakening and rebuilding your self-esteem, it takes a lot of time to heal from, because I have once met a friend who went through a divorce and it took him 5 years to first post his first content. So I'm just telling myself that it's normal for me to take my time, and in Bahasa there's a thing called indah pada waktunya, basically, and things will play out at its own time. So yeah, there it goes. Thank you for staying till the end. I think I just want to use this video to open up about 10 years being a creator, the ups and downs, and what happened behind the scenes, and being a bit more open to you about where I would like to go next, or the things that I want to work on. Again, it takes some getting used to, so I'm really hoping that I can stay, you know, accountable for this. So yeah, thank you so much for following my journey, and please let me know if you like this kind of video. Give me the write me the comments down below, because it really does help, you know. So yeah, thank you so much. I will see you next time on another video.